There seems to be a lack of communication and comprehension skills in this courtroom. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Holy crap. Okay. The hearing yesterday in the Idaho 4 case was, it was really, really long, but this summary shouldn't take that long because there's really just like one whole point to this entire situation. And this is what I've concluded. Okay. This survey is very normal. It's been used hundreds of times. It was used in the George Floyd case. It was used apparently, I believe, if I recall correctly, in the Oklahoma bombing. So this isn't something brand new. This guy's been doing this for a super long time. And the survey itself is not the problem. The survey itself, from what we've understood from the very beginning of last week's sessions, the survey itself has never been the issue, not for Bill Thompson or for Judge. It's these like 9 questions, okay? Now what I'm understanding is that this whole like lack of comprehension goes way beyond the courtroom, because I was told by a couple of comments that Nancy Grace did a whole panel about what happened, and I attempted to listen to it this morning, and I'm going to eventually listen to the whole thing and give my thoughts on it like I normally do with her, because she's just so far out there, man. The very first person that she calls up to talk, and I know this is like not hearing, but it is hearing, so just give me 1 second. The first person that she calls up to talk is somebody that we've already called out on this channel for incorrect and ridiculous information, someone overseas. And the first thing he does is give false information about the process of this survey. All right. This is what he says.
We have a situation where 400 jurors in a small county have now been contacted and told they've been given 9 questions about how they feel about Bryan Kohberger. And those are questions that if they were ignoring this case, they now know an awful lot about it. Very incriminating information about Bryan Kohberger that is now, as a prosecutor said, is now saturated with with potential jurors in the case.
And for you guys that watch my reaction to this entire thing, you'll see this clip in there again. But it's in here because in order for you guys to understand the way that this hearing all went and what the point of this is for this part right here, this very incorrect portion that's already out there on Nancy Grace's channel to be seen by the hundreds of thousands of people and be told to incorrectly, okay? This is how this process works, okay? The survey team uses a system that literally just randomly puts phone numbers together based off of the area codes for the counties that are being called. Okay. And they randomly call these numbers until they have 400 different sets of answers. For this case specifically, there was 400 people surveyed. All 400 people were not given these like 9 very important questions. Okay. The 3 to 4%, which is insane, but also not like shocking. Out of 400 people, only 3 to 4% did not know about this case. So therefore, the other 97 to 96% of those 400 people already knew parts of the information that they were getting in this survey. They already were very aware of the rumors online, the stuff that social media pushes. They know the narrative, all right? The only real people that could have been tainted here would have been those like 3 to 4% that didn't know. But the way that the survey works, because they do know that you cannot like meddle in what happens with a jury, right? Those 3 to 4% were not asked anything else. Like, this is how the phone call would have gone for the people who don't know anything about the case. Hi. Yes, I'm calling with a survey about a court case that's happening in Latell County in 2025. Can I ask you a few questions since you're local to the area? Okay, well, what's your name? Okay, and your date of birth, or how old are you? And what town are you in? Because, you know, there are several towns in a county sometimes, right? Okay. Okay, so have you read, seen, or heard anything about the Idaho student murder case, the one that we are waiting to go to trial for, where it's the state of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. Oh, you haven't? Okay. Okay. Where do you normally get your news from? Okay. And how often do you normally like read the newspaper? So do you turn on the news every day, like at dinner, or is it just like something that you kind of see, or is it like a Facebook feed? Okay, okay, okay. And who's your favorite news station? Where do you like to get your news from? What's your preferred source of news? All right. Okay. Okay. Well, I very much appreciate your time. I will hope you have a great day. Thank you. No information, bro. No information. That's how those conversations for those 3 to 4% of people that did not know anything about this case would have gone. Now, for the other ones, this is also very gauged. Okay. This is how I'm understanding it. If you were to get this phone call and answered the question of, have you read, seen, or heard anything about the Idaho student murder case, the one that's going to be going to trial in 2025, where it's the state of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger? Oh, you have? Okay, well, would you mind telling me, the kind of details that you do know about the case? Yeah, there were 4. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay. If this person literally only knew that there was like 4 victims and that the person was in jail and that like it happened in the local area, they wouldn't really have like a perception about what else this person knew, right? But it would still open up to the 9 questions, and this is the reason why. Triggers to memory. And this is something that we're going to go into because I want to do the PowerPoint presentation that was shown in this about how the survey works. I want to do that in a separate video. We're going to do that here soon. And it's going to include the 9 questions, which is we sort of like went over the questions in the hearing from last week in the video because Bill Thompson stood up and read the damn things, or the ones he at least heard in this like phone call they have on file, right? So those questions are put in here again, but this is again where we find out that, some things really have been just boo boo. But if the person does say yes, they know X, X, and X about the case, then they are then asked, have you read, seen, or heard anything about Bryan Kohberger having the same kind of vehicle that was apparently in the neighborhood at the time of the murders? Questions like that. Okay. So the way that it's said is that this would trigger someone to then remember something that they might not have said previously. Because if the person would have just said, oh yeah, I know there was 4 victims. I know they got the guy in jail, and I know what happened here locally at the, around the college because they were college students or something like that, right? They're not mentioning anything about the car or the specific details that they know, right? So then if they say, have you raised or heard blah, 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 white Elantra, blah, 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 and they're like, oh yeah, no, I did hear that. I saw that on Facebook, or I heard that on News Nation. Okay, well, that's a detail this person knows about the case that helps them determine innocence or guilt, that they didn't tell the survey taker in the beginning of the call that they knew instantly, like whenever they were having the initial conversation, which is why these other very specific questions are asked. And it seems like it's like a mixture of like the most popular things and maybe the not so popular things, but it sounds like pretty much everything is a very popular topic that we've all like gone in circles with. So, and just like the survey apparently isn't like the true problem, and it's like the questions, Bill Thompson is still trying to sit there and being like, oh, we're not trying to make this personal between me and Anne. We're not saying that she personally violated the gag order. It's the agents of the defense, meaning this guy. But I also am like not really understanding why the courtroom itself is having like a debate on what the definition of like public information is. So, okay, to me, public information on the case is something that was released by law enforcement to the public. It's not something that's being, held tight to the chest or all those other sayings that they have for whenever they don't tell us nothing. Okay, it's stuff that was released to the public. Now, that's also technically information, and in my opinion, this is why I agree with Anne on this. It's also the information that is in the media, because not all information that is true and factual to a case is given by the courts or by law enforcement. Sometimes it's given by family, it's given by people that are close to the victims or the victims' families. Details come out. Okay. Now it's hard to decipher in that realm of detail, what's right and what's false, what's real and what's not. I understand that, but not all true public information in a case comes directly from court documents. Now, maybe in the most legal of terms, I understand Judge's point on public information is public information that was released, like on the case of interest files, right? Where we get all of the documents that we go through here on this channel. But Anna's, of course, refuting that and being like, okay, yeah, but what about all the stuff that gets basically like twisted and misconstrued and, gasoline on the fire, all right, when it comes to what happens with all of this information. And just like we do, we go through the documents, we give commentary on the documents, we say what we think, okay? We're out here as people trying to figure these things out. These other entities are out here as news media organizations that normally are agenda driven. 95,000% of you guys will know that that's a fact. And we're seeing it now. Like, I'm seeing it this morning with what I saw on Nancy Grace and how I saw Banfield reacting earlier today, which we're going to talk about all of that too. Because it's not going to matter what you say or what gets found out. It's some people, it doesn't matter. They're not going to change their minds because it's personal to them. It's not about the truth. It's not about the facts. It's not about getting it right. It's about their opinion being right. So seeing Nancy Grace and Banfield like act like that today, it wasn't surprising. It wasn't surprising in the least. But I'm really waiting to see somebody be like, damn, that really changed my mind. I was wrong. I should not have just jumped the gun like that. And I don't mean like a YouTuber, okay? I mean like a legit lawyer person out here that consults on all these things, that has a really big name, that had an impact on all of this. I want one of those people to step up and be like, damn, they really said he wasn't stalking them. Okay, well, you know what? I need to rethink this. Give me a minute. Like, where are those people? See, they just take it too personal. It's just like I said, I was ready to, like, I was there with burning torches when they announced Bryan Kohberger's arrest. But then, just like so many of us, the PCA came out, or the exhibits for the PCA came out, and we were like, hold on. What? This, no. And that's why we're still here all this time later, and we're anxiously waiting to see what's going to happen. Delphi has an entire group of people just like us, and a lot of us are getting mixed together now because there's all kinds of stuff going on, and we're seeing a lot of comparisons, a lot of similarities, and we're all just trying to figure it out. And it's amazing to me that with how many people are into true crime now, that not only view all of you lovelies out there watching me talk right now, but also get on here and vocalize their opinions and their thoughts. I'm surprised they think that they can just like keep doing all this insane stuff and we're not going to talk shit. Because hello, that's what we're here to do. Now, again, it is reiterated. The defense had nothing to do with the questions that were created. This man went out and even said in like one of the very first publications, because remember we talked about this. I was like, okay, well, how didn't he know that there was a gag order? Whether he got one from the defense's side or not, if his whole entire job was to go in and search the local media, then the fact of the gag order would have been found out like hella fast. And then I was like, okay, well, Anne is lying, remember? So I actually need to retract that because Anne is not lying, apparently. I thought she was lying because in the last hearing, she made it sound as if there was no reason to tell him about the gag order, the doctor who did the survey. There was no reason to tell him about the gag order. It didn't matter, and it's her fault because blah, 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 whatever. And then towards the end, she was like, we attempted to send it to him. And I was like, okay, but earlier you said that you didn't even bother because it wasn't necessary, that you didn't tell him about the gag order at all. Now you're saying you tried to send it to him and it was just an attempt because something happened and he didn't get it. Well, then in this hearing, she asks him straight up about like an email in January about the gag order. January, guys. So it's April. And all of this whole thing just got like figured out in March whenever people were calling and reporting the phone calls. That means that the survey was going on like literally live for like the time frame in March that it was getting reported, but they had been doing research on what questions to ask and how to get the survey together since January. That's like 2 months almost. A good month and a half, 2 months of research before starting the surveys. That's actually a lot. Now, Bill Thompson objects in this thing over and over and over and over again. And quite frankly, he sounds like a condescending asshole. Because he even like almost wants to, I want to say he's almost making fun of Dr. Edelman, because once the presentation is over, this is where we find out about the whole stalking thing not being true. Okay. And if you guys missed it, again, I stopped my review of this hearing yesterday to record what I heard and posted it last night. Yeah, it just blew my mind. But yeah, let me just go ahead and put the clip right here.
You acknowledge false that Mr. Kohberger allegedly stalked one of the victims. That's false. You know that to be false.
So before he's like yelling at this guy basically, because let's face it, any of you that actually listened to this entire hearing, was Bill not screaming practically the entire time? Like Judge even had to tell him to like lower his tone. I was like, oh my God, Bill is getting angry. And it come to find out it's because he had a slide of his own. That's why he was mad. He didn't want the presentation put up there. He didn't want any of it shown at all. It's because he had a slide and he is being like, some of this responsibility of all this insanity is being put on him from the beginning. Like it's basically he's the domino boop, that fell in this media circus.
Did you find out where the media got the information?
Yes.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bill Thompson. I'm the Latah County Prosecutor. And let me preface, there's a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts with all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all of the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on. So please have patience with us on that. We hope to get that to you as soon as we can.
So of course he didn't want it shown. But he was yelling like this whole time, and it was wild. But he gets to the part where he's like talking to Dr. Edelman, and he's like, I'm really surprised that I saw so much emotion about you claiming that your, career and basically your experience was getting mocked and attacked. I'm so sorry that you felt that way. I'm honestly surprised to have seen that out of somebody as professional as you. I wanted to smack him. Like, you are being a condescending asshole right now. I mean, you even got accused of badgering the witness. Calm it down, man. But then again, as long as you're in these little like emotional ruts, you keep slipping out information. So maybe we should just keep going with this. But honestly, one of Bill's issues was my issue, like literally to the T. Because whenever we first heard about the survey, I was like, okay, but if they're giving false information as part of the survey questions in a real situation, is the survey taker then telling the person, by the way, that's a false fact? By the way, that information is not real. I gave you guys a whole example, all right, several times. Bill has that same problem. I have that problem too, because if you don't want there to be a tainted jury pool, then you shouldn't be trying to put false information in people's ears, regardless of if they already know about the situation, have heard stuff on social media or not. If they are hearing from an official survey information that is false, but that's online, that they think is real, then that's just concreting it for them that it's real, even though it's not true. Because that other person that's claiming to be like an official person, a person of authority that would know better, isn't changing their mind, isn't telling them, yeah, we know that it's all over the internet, but it's not real. It's not true. So I understand that part. I understand that part completely, especially since we do find out that the whole thing about him stalking one of the victims was not true. And what is crazy to me is Bill and his just like adamant way of wanting to make sure that the court in the record knows that that is a false statement. Why all of a sudden? Like, that's literally one of the biggest pieces of the exhibits in the PCA that people like honed in on, was the cell phone towers showing that he was in the area 12 times, blah, 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 blah. which made everybody think that he was stalking them, at least everybody that believes the general thing about what the PCA says and doesn't actually know how cell phone towers work. So my question for that, with Bill Thompson being like, that's false, that's not true. Okay, so does that mean that there's not a draft for cast report, that the cast report is actually finalized and it doesn't show that he was in the King Road area all those times? Is that what you're trying to tell us, Xana? No, he didn't make a decision. Judge made no decisions about anything yesterday. And at the time of me recording this, I checked to see if there was any new documents or anything, and there's still no decisions. I believe that the May court date was vacated, and they're going to be meeting again on June 27th. That's what I heard in the thing anyway. We know that those things can change. There's emails and conversations in the background. So those documents letting us know that there's new court dates will come out soon enough, I'm sure. That's really it, because we're going to be going through the presentation itself and the questions themselves because they were given to us. They are pretty much the ones that we went through previously. We're just going to go through them again and talk about it. We're going to talk about it some more. But I also found it very interesting that in this hearing, not only was Bill Thompson yelling and screaming and really emotional about stuff and like letting things, come out of his face that maybe he shouldn't have for his own, job's sake anyway, but Ann Taylor and the other attorney on Ryan's team are super, 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 super like screaming his innocence at this point.
I'm his advocate. I want to help him. I believe in his innocence. I'm not going to stand in this courtroom and do anything wrong to him at all. I need you to hear the information so you can make a decision, to have the surveys, to have the information. When we come back here for change of venue, we're going to say you can't have this jury in Latah County, but I can't tell you a better place that will protect him better. And that's what I want to do.
We as a defense team have the obligation and frankly the privilege of defending Mr. Kohberger and defending his right to a fair trial. Our defense team firmly, and I mean firmly, believes in Mr. Kohberger's innocence.
It was really interesting to see, because I don't know if we've really seen that from them yet. And she's like putting her hand on his shoulder and he's like looking up at her. Man, there's a lot going on here. There's so much going on here. But we're going to go through the PowerPoint presentation here soon. I want to know what you guys think about all of this, especially now that we know that the stalking rumor was freaking false. How many people are changing their minds that are on like the guilty train? I mean, I'm not telling you to go over to the innocent train, okay? Don't just hop over, all right? But be in the middle. Be in the unbiased, I'm going to take in all the information and have an opinion, but it's an ever-flowing, ever-changing opinion because details matter, and the only thing that actually matters at the end is the true facts and true justice, no matter what we think or feel. Okay, can we get on that train? Let's come on. Like, because all this is crazy. And I'm seeing so much fighting. There's so much fighting. Like, guys, it's not your lives. It's not your loved ones. You're not related to the victims. You're not part of their families. You're out here just trying to figure it out. No one's right until trial and the truth comes out. And then whenever we repeat what we heard, then we'll be right. Some of us might have guessed correctly on some things. Some of us might be way out there. Way out there. All right. All the fighting needs to chill. Like, it's insane what I've been seeing. It's wild. It's so, so wild. But that's it, you guys. I want to know all of y'all's thoughts in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. See y'all.